Hello and welcome to episode 154 of Masters of the Forge. My name's Adam, and with me I have Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Adam. Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to this beautiful land of imagination and horribleness. We're deep into 2020 now. We can see the finish line. We're like on the last stretch. We've just been handed the last baton. It's time to wrap this thing up, right? Like,
yeah,
let's do this.
Yeah, it's been a long, 10 years, this 2020.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. I agree with you 100%. So, in this period between the last episode and this one, what hobby progress have you achieved, Jason?
I've actually managed to pick up, a bit. I got my wet palette, which I had ordered from Redgrass Games, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They're in Switzerland or Germany. I don't remember. Europe. And so because of COVID and whatnot, instead of shipping it over by plane, they shipped it by boat. And it took a little bit of a time, but man, it is worth it. It's I just absolutely adore this wet palette. I think you have one, right?
Yes, I do. My buddy Pat gave me one. He backed the project.
Yeah.
So he had like 3 of them from his backing. So he gave me one.
No way.
Yeah, and
awesome.
I really like mine a lot. The paper is really nice too. It's very antimicrobial.
Yeah. That's kind of the issue I have, is that I do have another wet palette, but when I moved, I kind of lost it for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew friends. It grew a lot of friends. And they weren't happy to see me. So anyway, this is my replacement on that wet palette. So I'm pretty happy with it, though. It's
nice.
Man, it's I can see myself ordering, some more of their paper and maybe another palette if I want to get that, because I got one of the smaller ones. I can get the giant one because
I don't have the giant one, but I know that there are a few really high level painters that use the giant one because they will maintain their paint from project to project to project, and they just need the big palette, and they're working on multiple projects at once and all that.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense for them to have that, but for us it's excessive.
It's excessive, yeah, but I mean, come on, it's Thousand Suns, whatever.
Yeah.
Great wet palette. No, they didn't give us any, just this is something that I really enjoyed. But hobby stuff, actually. So I worked a little bit on now that I had the wet palette, I started working on my Smash Captain that I built over the summer and mostly painted over the summer. So I just need to add some water slide transfers and give it a new base. And I think it's done. Well, close enough, whatever. I'm also working on the war suit. I just need to figure out which panel should be in bone. I just did it all in red, and I thought, well, let me think about this. And I just need to kind of backtrack and paint 2 panels in bone so I can have the chapter icon on there. I finally finished building the repulsor. I bought it the summer before last. I think I started on it over the summer, and I just never could. I don't know. I just could never get into that build. I mean, it's a good build. It's a good model. It's just, I don't know. Just never. I think there was a couple of panels on there that were kind of giving me fits, but got it finished. I built a couple of Chaos Spawn because I had never built that model before, that unit. So I picked up a box of those. I started working on the Orc Flyer. I'm not building the Daka jet. I'm building. I can't remember the name of the other jet. Something that had a shock jump or a shock, some sort of shotgun. I don't remember which one.
Right.
And let's see. I did pick up a Helldrake because I do have a Helldrake in my Crusade list. And so I thought, this is the one thing I don't have that I should. If I'm going to run this Crusade list in person, then I should get that Helldrake. And I picked
Right.
up more Flamers because my local store has started looking for certain things for me, So I got more Metal Flamers. And let's see the last of
Okay.
it. Wednesday night hobby hangout with, the New York guys. That was fun. And you showed up this last time too.
Yes, I did. I managed to
Yeah.
make it into the hangout for a little bit. It was nice. Got
Yep.
some work done.
Yep. And
Lots of fun.
yeah, those are fun. I do recommend that people do hobby hangouts. I mean, it's right now we're dealing with, probably being inside until April
Being
or May
inside
or
way too
whatever.
much.
Yeah.
Way too much
That's,
inside time. That's for sure.
yeah. Yeah. So anyways,
Well, it'll end very soon, hopefully.
yeah.
There's a lot of sunshine on the horizon, so
Yes.
that's very nice. Um, so for my part, I've been very. I'm still kind of not full speed ahead with my hobby
Mm-hmm.
progress, but I'm working on stuff. Like you said, I was doing the hobby hangout, and in that hobby hangout, I was working on my Thunderhawk, the Orc
Yeah.
Thunderhawk.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thundork.
that the Thunder, yeah, that the flip side guys gave me a long time ago. It had
Yep.
like a slapdash paint job on it. I mean, I would hate to call it but it was pretty slapdash. It wasn't my best effort. So, or at the time, it might have been close to my best effort, but right now, it
Yeah.
was it was showing its age, that paint job. So, um, I added some more plates and everything, got all that rebuilt and upgraded, and I added some more plates recently. And during the hangout, I did rivets. So I still have a lot of those Tichy Train Group rivets, the 0.5 millimeter. Yeah, I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
0.5 mil um, rivets, and I put those all over the new plates, and also in other spots, and glued in the new hoses and stuff. So I think I mentioned before, I there's like a front engine, and then there's two back engines,
Yeah.
or sorry, two pairs of back engines and one pair of front engines. The one pair in the back has a intake, but one pair I was missing parts to make to give them an intakes. I was also missing thrust nozzles.
Mm-hmm.
So the front engines are lacking a front thrust nozzle, and one pair of back engines is lacking an intake. So I took some green stuff hoses and some plasticard hoses, and I linked the front engines to one pair of back engines, and that seems to have worked very nicely. I like the way it looks. I added some cowlings and whatever. I did an undercoat of brown, what do you call it, the Valspar Labrador brown, which I can only get like on Amazon now.
Mm-hmm.
I have to order it, or I think I actually have to order it directly from Amazon now, or sorry, directly from Valspar. But I got that down, and I also broke out the airbrush to lay down the first three layers of yellow on the front. So it's going to be yellow flames bleeding into blue,
Yeah.
and that's what I've done there. I'm not sure when I'm going to start doing the flames, because I'm a little concerned about. Well, I'm not concerned. I'm just, I just don't feel like it. So it's gonna be a
Yeah.
bit of work to do that, because each wing is like painting flames on one other model, right? So it's
Yeah.
like painting.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
painting it's like painting flames on like 4 or 5 vehicles on this one vehicle. So it'll be a lot of work.
You're gonna airbrush that, right?
No, I'm done airbrushing on this. I'm gonna hand brush the flames
Okay.
because, well, I mean, what am I gonna? The amount of time it's gonna take to cut out and lay down and seal up that many or that much like masking,
Uh huh.
I might as well
Just
just paint
stencil
it
it. Just stencil it.
with an airbrush. It would still have to like be really sealed in order to do that, right? I don't
Not
know.
really.
I'm gonna hand brush it. Um,
Okay. And I guess it
and
depends
but
on how stylized you want that flame, I guess.
yeah, it's gonna look like the flames on my Megatrack scrapjet
Yeah.
and my um, mech. What's the mech airplane? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna. I think it's gonna look nice when it's done. The big
Cool.
thing I'm really concerned about is it's gonna take forever to do the metal parts. I'm gonna have to pick those out, and I'm still not sure how I'm gonna do the stand. Right now, the stand is just like a block of wood with a big dowel rod in it, and then another block of wood at the top, and then the airplane just kind of sits on the one block of wood. And that's really not great. I might I was thinking I might add some like bolts to the side or
Yeah.
like put a big bolt through the top of the dowel rod and pour some clear resin into one of the shipping containers
Mm-hmm.
and stick the top of the dowel rod in there and let that set. And then so like the one shipping container will just be attached to the flight stand,
Right.
and then the ship will just sit on the shipping container.
That's probably a good idea because I think that's been a discussion that we've talked about now for a while. Is how do you put this thing on the table physically?
It's
Because of
really
its weight.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy, especially because like there's really no way to. There's no place to really put a flight stand on this thing.
Right.
So, but the one thing that gives me pause about that is I really like the idea of disengaging these cargo containers and dropping them like bombs, right? So
Right.
if it's stuck on the flight stand, that kind of negates some of that, you know. So we'll
Yeah. It's
see.
true.
I'll think of something. For now, I'm just painting. I did have an opportunity to make some purchases. I did a Forge
Ooh.
World purchase. Forge World purchase for my Secret Santa on the IC's Discord.
Yeah.
And I also got myself something in order to get the free shipping because you got to get the free
Right.
shipping.
Well,
I
of
mean,
course.
what are you doing to yourself? So
That's
I
no
picked
point.
up Goblin Secret Weapons for Blood Bowl.
Yeah.
These are Blood Bowl goblins. One of them has a ball and chain. Another one has a lit bomb, like a spherical lit bomb, and the other one has a chainsaw. I don't know where you get a chainsaw in Blood Bowl, but hey, who am I to judge them?
Yeah. That's
They're living their best life, Jason. They're living
obviously.
their best life, clearly. Um, also have the new Drazar and a Primaris Tech Marine, which I'm going to do
Cool.
in the Aurora chapter colors. Again, I'm still kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying I'm on the fence about building that army, but I, I, I just bought a model for it, so here we go.
Yeah. I've been
It's only
wondering
$30.
how long it's going to take you.
It's $30. It's whatever.
Yeah.
So I will set
Okay.
that aside for now. I'm feeling good about it. I've been working on the 100 Space Marines project, the charity project that we're doing at 1 hour a night.
Yeah.
The the storage box made by Archidan. He made us a display case. I built it. Looks good, and
Yeah, it does.
we have most of the Marines. I rebased all the ones that were on 25s onto 32s, and I added all the awesome nameplates. Again, I
Hmm.
forgot the name of the company who did those, but I'll be sure to rep them later when the project's completed.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
they 3D printed some nameplates for each of the chapters. So that was really good. They look really nice. Very
Yeah.
excited about that. But I'm gonna have to paint some. I'm gonna try and rope a dope Mark and maybe John and maybe someone else to help
Yeah.
finish up the models. There's only like 10 models left to do for it, so that's not too bad. 90 out of 100 people, uh, 90 out of 100 Marines finished. That's pretty good. So we'll get that
Yep.
wrapped up and sent in for the auction.
That'll be
But
cool.
that's it for my hobby progress. Jason, do you have you had any games played or anything?
No, but I am building a list for our next Crusade game. So
Nice.
um, we kind of talk. We'll talk about it more whenever we actually play the game. But I wanted to go through and maybe do like a side quest where demons got loose on
I
that
like it.
planet we were on for game 3. So
Yeah, I like that idea. Um,
yeah,
so I actually already put the map together for it and everything. It'll be a lot of
yeah,
fun when we do that. So awesome. Yeah, we'll be sure to do that real soon and get back to you. I did have a game with Aaron.
hmm,
His name is Snooty on our Discord. He played his Death Watch and I played Orcs. So,
yeah,
even though we're not having a Death Watch episode anytime soon, we'll have that available as a Altar of War episode when I get it edited. So
yeah.
we did that on Tabletop Simulator. Thanks to him for doing that with me. That was
It's
a
pretty
fun and
cool.
very close. That was a very close game. I'm looking forward to y'all hearing about that one. That was a big Strike Force matched play game, by the way. So if that's not your jam, sorry about that. We we'll probably get back to more narrative content after uh, for the next one, and that was episode 20 of Altar of War, which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
Um, I played an incursion game, a crusade game with my orcs against Dave's Mechanicum, or
Hmm.
sorry, Dark Mechanicus.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I've been having pretty good luck with the orcs, but it's also like here's the thing: I built this whole Drukhari army over the course of like 15 months.
Uh huh.
I painted like 4,500 points, and that's the only
That's
in person. That's the only in person gaming I'm doing right now. So it's a real shame to like go through all that effort to build that army and not use it. So I think I might switch back to Drukhari instead of doing orcs.
yeah.
That Crusade force is a little bit ahead of everybody else, but I think the command point system really works where your Crusade points, you do the difference of your Crusade points, and then the person who's down gets extra command points. I think that works really nicely. So I'm going to
Hmm.
switch back to Drukhari because I don't know. I really want to use the new models that I built and painted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
That's whenever we finally get back to being able to play in person, you can actually put them on the board.
right. Yeah,
You know.
the Death Skulls really, man, they zoom forward in their battle wagon and their trucks, and Dave
Hmm.
was able to like do a lot of work against the all the vehicles. But by the time the boys got stuck into his onager and all of his characters and stuff, it was brutal. boys, I mean, even at 8 points apiece, or sorry, at like 4 power level for 10 boys, which is kind of a lot. Even with that, it's just so many numbers, and they have so many attacks.
Yeah.
So that was a victory for the orcs. But again, even though Drukhari are a little harder to play, I really want to play them.
Yeah, that's it's your new army. It's I'm really wanting to play my Thousand Sons and Demons. So, I haven't really read too much on the like for this episode. We went through and looked at the Space Marine book, and there was one thing that's been changed in this new book that I really like, and I hadn't noticed because that wasn't really my thought process for the past few months. Is it's been more Thousand Sons, whatnot. So, and I think we do talk about that that change that I really like later in this episode. So,
right. So, I think I hear the call of the Ayat.
The what?
Harkening across the hills, the mountains, and the alluvial plains or whatever. I don't know. The fjords. Have you heard the call of the fjords? It's time to go beyond the
Yeah. All right.
Jason, have you heard the call of the Ayat from across the fjords?
Was there a parrot involved?
Yes.
Yeah. Then I've heard the parrot pining for the fjords. I hear he had a very loud squawk there.
Pining fjords.
All right, so I guess for our Beyond the Fringe, mine is actually urgent care clinics and medication. I wasn't feeling that great last weekend and went in and they gave me some medication and I'm okay. I'm getting better. So, yay. Sorry, nothing more interesting than that. Just, just take care of myself, I guess. What about you, Adam?
You gotta take care of yourself, dude. I mean, you can't hole yourself up in your little cave and hope it all blows over. Well, and that's kind of what we're all doing, but whatever. So in preparation for this episode, I was doing my show notes while listening to both Norwegian folk music and Norwegian metal, and I feel like the real sweet spot is when those things kind of combine to form like a Norwegian folk metal type situation where you have these tenors and baritones all singing as a group, like in a chorus. But there's also like really hard guitars going on in the background. It's pretty sweet.
That does sound
Norwegian music. It's pretty sweet. So that's my Beyond.
I was talking with one of my colleagues who teaches music history, and she was telling me about she was actually using Norwegian folk metal in her classes because I think I had shared the video of the Mongolian death metal group or the Mongolian metal group, and we started chatting about this. I thought, here are people in the college, the university setting that are literally playing metal music in their classes. How things have changed for the better. So all right.
Fan freaking-tastic. There's there's lots of stuff going on. There was just a GW preview of some Slaneshi stuff for Age of Sigmar, but also the new codexes that are coming out for 40K. We've got the Drukhari coming and the Death Guard coming. There are rumors that Death Guard are going to lose Feel No Pain and get like a damage reduction instead. And but the Drukhari are going to be like a top-down fix or top-down reorganization, because
Okay.
the old detachment system was fine for the way they do it. So you have to have a separate detachment for your witch cult and your cabal and your coven. But now that gets really expensive. And
Yeah.
it's kind of janky too. So expect some changes in that direction. Looking forward to that, especially because I have Drakari. But we're also getting new campaign books too, which will be very exciting for this episode, for this podcast. We're going to cover that in great detail when it comes out.
And I'm going to try and get mine earlier because I forgot to mention this, but I finally got my Beyond the Veil Crusade book like this past week, and it's been out for like months. But I guess it was sold out, and so I never got a copy. So yeah.
So I guess it is going to be like Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Drakari, and some Space Marine stuff in there. So it's going to be set on the world of Metallica, on the Forge World Metallica. So that will be fascinating. And I would say that you could probably work in your game some games of Titanicus into that. Into that campaign. I don't see why not, personally.
Yeah.
I think that would be rad as hell.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be perfect.
Probably also Imperial Knights, I think. I think they said something about Imperial Knights. Yes. They were saying that they were saying that the army list that they came up with for that is like you could have an army of free blades. Like you have an entire army of Freeblade Knights, all unique. Yeah, I think that sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to that.
That is awesome.
And we've been meaning to have like some Imperial Knight episodes, so that'll be a good opportunity to kind of talk more about that. Again, we've had lots of Imperial Knight episodes in the past, but it'll be a good opportunity for that. So yeah, looking forward to the future. Speaking of the future, let's do a cross dissolve into some commercials, and then we'll fade in post commercial into our main topic. Damn, I knew it was around here somewhere. Damn, where is it?
Can I help you?
Ah! Scared me.
What do you seek?
I need the perfect scenario for a narrative game I'm running this week, and I can't find one.
Sir, this is the Black Library. We don't have narrative scenarios.
Well, then where should I go?
Might I recommend the Tabletop Campaign Repo?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo? What's that?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo is an ad-free site for hosting resources related to playing tabletop miniatures wargaming.
Oh, like scenarios?
Absolutely. Also, event packs, custom objectives, tracking sheets, custom terrain rules, maps, icon packs, award templates, and more.
Oh, and this is for Warhammer 40k?
Among other things. There's also Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and others. They're always open for content submissions for any system, even non-Games Workshop materials.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a great way to save all of this great content the community makes. A lot of that stuff often ends up disappearing into a dead message board or Facebook group.
Exactly. It's a real community effort.
Great. So how do I get there?
Just go to that webway gate marked tcrepo.com.
tcrepo.com. Got it. Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Fire away.
This place is really easy to find. How come Armand can never find it?
Oh, because it's more funny that way.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Once again, the Tabletop Campaign repository can be found at tcrepo.com, and they're always looking for submissions.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 hour a night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 hour a night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
Welcome back. So our main topic today is kind of, I mean, we have Space Wolves emblazoned on the art for this episode, but it's really a lot about, like, the main point of doing this is to help us all understand the new Codex format and the new and how to navigate creating a list for your Space Marines and like all these sub factions. It's not always easy to do this. So we're also going to do a rehash of we're going to rehash the lore a little bit, but we're mainly going to talk about the stuff that's been enhanced or changed. I think Games Workshop has tried really hard not to change too much. And if they do change anything, it's sort of a evolution.
Yeah.
I think I understand if folks don't appreciate that. But I do. I'm glad we're getting forward momentum. You know?
Yeah, I am too.
So just to keep in mind when we're doing this, you know, this show's been going on for a few years now, and we've had a lot of episodes, and we've talked about a lot of topics, which is tough because when we have new listeners, sometimes, you know, they might want to hear about some of the stuff that we've talked about already.
Mm-hmm.
We've had requests to talk about stuff we've talked about already. So for this topic, we've talked about Space Wolves in episode 9, where we talked about the Wolf Brothers, 20 and 21, where we talked about Battle of the Fang, episode 22, where we had like a general on, we were doing these from the Codex to your tabletop, or from the lore to your tabletop episodes, which were just generic faction discussions. But that was way back in episode 22 years and years ago.
Yeah, that was
pre-Jason.
I think I started editing just after that.
Yeah, then we had 76 and 78 where we talked about the Wrath of Magnus.
Oh, yes.
Episodes 82 and 83, which was Curse of the Wolfen. And then as recent as episode 120, where we discussed all the great companies. We've even had I think we had a request to talk about the great companies, but we have a whole episode on that. If you're interested, go on and check out episode 120. And that was post Curse of the Wolfen, so that weaves in some deaths and stuff that have happened since. So again, we're going to start by rehashing some of the old lore. So not in detail, but to kind of get you in the mood for hearing about Space Wolves and framing what we're going to talk about later with the new Codex.
Mm-hmm. So, the Space Wolves are a spirited faction of Space Marines whose disposition is mirrored by their motive. They wear blue-gray armor reminiscent of their icy death world of Fenris. They bedeck themselves with runes, furs, trophies, and trinkets collected throughout their strife-filled lives. They wear their hair in intricate plaits, braids, knots, and long manes. The generic
Super
stock
hot.
of space. So what?
They're super hot. They're
Well,
like,
yeah. I mean,
they're
do
like
anyone play saxophone?
romance novel covers. Just imagine any romance novel cover. That's what they look like.
Okay, I thought you were going with the sax guy on Lost Boys, but okay.
Well,
So
that too.
that too.
That's more of a chaos, like a chaos worshiper, right? Like with the leathers.
Well,
and
we could have that discussion about Space Wolves and Chaos.
We could, but I'd need a moment. Go ahead. Keep moving.
The genetic stock of the Space Wolves comes from the noble folk who, against all odds, survive the harsh environment that Fenris provides. So, somewhat mirroring the animals that are their namesake, the Space Wolves are at their best when operating using pack tactics or as solitary lone hunters. This predilection is true whether the wolves are operating far afield, on the battlefield, or in the void itself.
Yeah, even if it's like spaceship captains, they use the same pack or hunting tactics.
Yeah, and I was thinking about, as I was reading that sentence, I started thinking about, certain fan-made game mechanics where there's actually like fighting on like the skins or the outer hulls of ships and whatnot.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adon. That just kind of came to mind whenever I read the Void itself.
Right.
So it is in these very fundamental ways that the Space Wolves as a faction has not strayed in the new edition. The history of the Wolves remains largely unchanged, which is good. They were created and molded as the Allfather's executioners. And they have a tendency to consider themselves not only the law at the time, but even above the law. I should probably cue in the Judge Dredd I am the law screaming thing. Yeah. That predilection continues to this day with their many unfortunate encounters with the Inquisition and other chapters. I like that unfortunate encounter with the Inquisition, though. That is a great a great book. I'm not even a Space Wolves guy, but I'm just like, that is a great book.
Yeah. It's more of a sorry, not sorry type situation, right? Like,
pretty much, yeah. And it wasn't even like they were that much saying they were sorry. It's just like, we're not doing that. Oh, okay, you don't like it? That's fine. We're still not doing it.
No, just no. So there's 13 great it's like 12 plus 1 great companies of the Space Wolves, and they've evolved somewhat over time. Not really recently. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. The Space Wolves are functionally at Legion strength, a few thousand per great company. But due to their independent nature, they're divided into these sub-factions of great companies. They're led by I guess what could only be described as an alpha predator among their kind called the Wolf Lord. In side note, it's really interesting. They don't really add Wolf Lord keyword to any of the characters, except for the Wolf Lord on Fenrysian Wolf or whatever. Yeah, so like you would think that they would go back and just say, okay, add Wolf Lord to captains and chapter masters, but they don't. Even the named Wolf Lords don't have that keyword. I guess there's no need for it, really.
I guess not. I mean, in the future they could go through and FAQ that and then give a Wolf Lord warrior trade.
I guess for the most part, everything affects Space Wolf characters regardless of their rank. So I guess it wasn't necessary. So it's just an interesting note. So Wolf Lords have the unenviable task of tying all the disparate packs in their great company together through their impeccable example and leadership. So unlike other chapters, the Space Wolf divisions do not have a predetermined theme or combat doctrine that all the warriors in that great company must adhere to. So like there's no like Devastator company, like there's no Scout company. Instead, the great companies tend to reflect the values and combat doctrines of the Wolf Lord who commands it. So it's more of a top-down thing. So young wolves would naturally gravitate towards a specific great company that best fits their philosophy. It's common for wolves to move from company to company as their worldview shifts. So they'll get older, and they might, they might not be interested in following Canis Wolfborn anymore, and they want a more reasoned approach to combat, and they'll switch to the black mains or something like that, because they'll have more in common with those wolves. So at the end of the day, each great company does kind of have a theme, but it's a reflection of the leader, not because we need a tank company. No, that's not the point.
Yeah. What I would like to see is, I vaguely remember reading this before and knowing this, but I don't think there's been any short stories or novels where a character in the novel does that.
Right. Well, that's just it. That's the problem. Yeah. There's all the I don't want to be too I don't want to seem too cynical, but
yeah.
They have all the great company decals are on the decal sheets, right?
Yeah.
They have all these models, so it's tough. For example, go ahead.
I'm not just thinking it'd be a really cool narrative, or at least it'd be cool, like as a novel or narrative approach, to have maybe one of your characters move from great company to a different great company.
Right.
And since they do collect these totems of what they've done in the past, this maybe your character, maybe your whatever it is, maybe it's like a wolf lord or something, it has multiple company markings because they have moved from company to company, but they don't want to.
They're not going to forget the time that they had there.
Yeah.
Right. So the individual great companies, they're not a permanent fixture, like we just talked about. They can be destroyed or disbanded at any time, only to be replaced by others. There are 12 extant great companies at all times. When a great company is destroyed in battle, it's often inducted into the ranks of the 13th company, which we previously believed represented a great company which fell to the curse of the Wolfen and then pursued Magnus into the warp. Which that may be true from the beginning, but now it represents all those who either fell to the curse or gave everything for the All-Father. Just destroyed in war.
Interesting.
It's not a hard and fast rule. For example, when Eagle Iron Wolf was slain by Magnus in the series that we talked about like 80 episodes ago, Vorak Gnarlfist took command of the Iron Wolves and maintained not only the name and combat doctrine, but also the Great Company's symbol. Out of respect, not because it's on the decal sheet. So Vorak Gnarlfist was kind of an understudy of Iron Wolf. So I guess it's still a armor company of Space Wolves. But they could have written it like that's not the case. It could have been someone else who took over who has a totally different perspective, and it would no longer be an armored company.
Right.
The Codex goes into detail about prominent companies of Logan Grimnar, Ragnar Blackmane, Harald Deathwolf, and Crom Dragongaze. But again, there are 8 others. So if you want to hear more details about the great companies, tune into episode 120 when we discuss this topic in detail. Now, in this, there's like a little story. I have a little non sequitur for you. Lucas the Trickster bet Crom Dragongaze that he could not outstare the Wolf's Eye, which is Fenris's star. So he took that bet and stared into the sun until it set and declared it a draw. It doesn't say that that this bet came from a long night of drinking, but I guarantee you it came from a long night of drinking, and he went blind temporarily.
Yeah, that's.
I bet Lucas the Trickster was like, you know what? Fair.
That is pretty funny. That's in the Codex?
That is, it's in the Codex.
Oh man, some of the lore they put in there is just amazing. All
That's
right.
kind of it's almost that orc stuff. That's like an orc story more than a
Yeah, it kind of is, to be honest. All right, so there are some new war zones for the wolves to engage in, of course, as the story of the Indominus era and beyond unfolds. The Codex has a full 2-page spread regarding Warzone Jalid,
get.
which certainly sounds like it's in the Protectorate of the Space Wolves, but doesn't seem to appear in any other documentation.
Yeah, it's like new.
The assumption is supported by the way that the battle is described as a reaction to the appearance in system by several orc-crewed space hulks. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that sounds fun. Yeah. Okay, so this war is currently being waged by Bren Redmaw of Imperial Armor 11 Doom of Mymera fame, who is eager to take the wind out of the Ingir Krakendoom's sails by personally taking down some space hulks.
Yeah, Kraken Doom is the spacefaring pirate space wolf who likes to kill void whales.
Wow, I need to go back and reread his information. I'd
He's
forgotten
awesome.
about that. Yeah, he does
He
sound
rules.
pretty awesome. All right, so the war zones discussed in the Saga of the Beast are also well documented in that book. The Greenskins seem to be attacking from all directions. This makes the Space Wolves' highly adaptable combat doctrine very reliable against the menace, especially with the ancient enemy of the Greenskins, Ragnar Blackmane, leading the charge. Yeah.
Ragnar took command of his great company by slaying an orc war boss. There's no
That'll do it.
love lost between. Yeah, he can smell orc on the air. He knows orc tactics when he sees them. He knows how to follow them. He knows how to fight them.
Yep. In this last bullet point, I really like. And to this day, the Fenris system is plagued with the taint of Zinch. And there are always opportunities for young packs to test themselves against the chapter's most ancient and dangerous of nemesis.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep, they're still there. We've had some short stories about that. So if you're wanting to pit your Space Wolves against Thousand Suns, or you want to pit your Thousand Suns against Space Wolves, I think that Magnus really made his mark on the Fenris system and the surrounding systems. So there's no shortage of plot hooks there.
Yep. That is pretty cool. I do like that that's added, because it allows... later we do talk about what warlord traits and a couple of other things, and that will kind of come up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So the other shoe is dropped on the Wolfen thing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real ambiguity. We've discussed the Curse of the Wolfen in the past, and this lore has evolved a little bit since then, especially with the inclusion of Primaris Marines. The Space Wolves have fascinating genetic traits that tend to give some in the Imperium a bit of pause, especially the Inquisition.
Yep.
During a Space Wolf's initiation, their canines lengthen, their hair grows out, like their bones get double in mass or something. Even their eyes and facial features take on somewhat bestial traits over time. This surface is only a shadow of the Wolfen that lurks within every single Space Wolf, both Firstborn and Primaris. At one time, it's everybody. At one time, Space Wolf leadership allowed the Administratum and the Inquisition to believe that this extreme transformation was only brought out during failed attempts at creating successor chapters. That it was only a danger if the Administratum or even wolf priests tried to tamper with the Allfather's work. This stopped the Imperium from messing with their business.
Yeah.
The Imperium left them alone because, well, if we can't get gene seed tithes from them, so what's the point? We won't mess with them. We won't test them all the time. They won't have to send. We won't have to send the Imperium gene seed samples because it's too dangerous to make successor chapters. In reality, the Wolfen didn't begin or end with Jorn Bloodhowl's 13th Company. Space wolves throughout the centuries have succumbed to the inner wolf and were secreted away beneath the chapter monastery of the Fang on Asheim, which we did see in Battle of the Fang. This lie wasn't always fully accepted by the Inquisition, of course, and it was exposed during the attack on Fenris by Magnus himself. The test of Mordecai is intended to weed out any Astartes who might not be strong-willed enough to suppress the Wolfen, and it's quite successful at doing so. The Space Wolf quality is seated in his ability to tame the Wolfen within them. Any warrior can blindly assail an enemy in a blind fury. A Space Wolf who can suppress the urges at the right times and unleash them at the right times is destined for greatness.
Ooh, yeah.
There's a really cool short story in there about that. There's like a 2-page spread short story in the book, which reads really nicely and talks about how much more successful Space Wolves are when they can suppress the Wolfen. Still, time and strife wear at every Space Wolf's willpower. It's the unfortunate few who know, it's the fortunate few who know when their time to succumb has arrived, and then they can just throw themselves into battle in one last mad drive and die in the service of their pack and the Allfather. And a lot of the time, it's a lot like the Death Company. If they do find someone who's totally succumbed to the Wolfen and can't come back, they'll put them in these packs of Wolfen and just kind of throw them into the fray until they eventually die.
Yeah.
They don't have a axe wielding executioner standing next to them like the Death Company do, but
priorities, man, priorities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the inclusion of the Primaris Marines are a major sea change for the Space Wolves. The most significant way the Primaris have altered the culture of the Space Wolves is they force the chapter to accept that the Wolfen is integral to every Space Wolf as their ID or their ego, as their id or their ego. There's no inherent danger in creating new successor chapters as long as the process is overseen by qualified professionals.
Yeah, wolf priests. They're fine.
Yeah, wolf priests, sure. Of course, this recent level of acceptance means that most new Space Wolf successor chapters are nearly entirely comprised of Primaris, though they do all still undergo the Trail of Mordecai. I don't know, man. That qualified professionals really caught me there. Whew, that was some good humor. All right. Because of this, the Space Wolf culture remains fundamentally unchanged. Wait a minute. Hold on. I want to go back to that. So these new Space Wolf successor chapters are nearly all Primaris. I'm curious if this is in the lore or if I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm.
If they will be as beholden, shall we say, to the Space Wolves, these new successor chapters, as are the Dark Angel successor chapters. You know, how they all still very much rally around. And I'm wondering if the Space Wolves will have, and their successors will have that. That's
maybe. There's really, I mean, if we I don't know if you remember or if you've read closely, a lot of these Space Marines don't have a lot of, like the original Primaris.
Yeah.
They don't have, there's no love lost between them and Belisarius Call. Like they don't trust them. So they're more likely to be loyal to their chapter, their sister or their parent chapter, or each other than they would be to Call. So yeah, I can see that in Dark Imperium. There's a Space Wolf Primaris group, and they long to travel to Fenris and see the Fang and stuff. So I think there's something inherent in that, in the blood that draws them to Fenris. So I think you might be right.
I'm curious because I do like that about the Dark Angels lore, that they have these successor chapters, but you know, one snap of the fingers and they're all back together and doing something. So but we'll that's a discussion for later because now I'm thinking about the Fallen and blah blah blah. Okay, because of this, the Space Wolf culture remains fundamentally unchanged, and the wolves' competition and challenge between each other are an integral part of their culture. Rarely does such conflict result in a true schism, of course, so it's usually a very healthy way to keep everyone performing at their best. Don't tell them this, but they're a lot like orcs in this way. Yes. Yes, they are. They just don't play with squigs.
Wait, there's not enough chaos or orcs around to fight? Well, I guess we can fight each other.
That's fine. That's it's a day that ends with a Y.
Yeah.
So, new Primaris Space Wolves exhibit the same exuberant and headstrong behaviors as any other Blood Claws, and they're referred to as such. Primaris Space Marines who show promise are also assigned to packs. New blood in the ranks is a good way for the Space Wolves to challenge themselves. Different aspects of Primaris training are well suited to other similar Space Wolf paradigms, and there's been some quiet renaming and reorganizing going on in the new Codex, which I'm really curious about.
This seems like a in-between book, which I think a lot of the codexes feel in-betweeny.
Yeah.
I think we are in between a time where everything is Firstborn and everything is Primaris, and we're kind of coming to grips with that.
Yeah.
So you really have to hunt for this information in here. But hunter packs harken back to the Grey Hunters. And they also, including like the Grey Hunters, also include suppressors, eradicators, and intercessors. They're marked with red and black heraldry. Fang packs are reminiscent of long fangs, also still in the Codex in this supplement. They're older, more tempered warriors. They include aggressors and hellblasters, in addition to the long fangs. Fang packs are marked with white and black heraldry. Claw packs correlate to headstrong blood claw units from previous iterations of the Codex, but this also includes incursors and outriders. There are pictures of both in the Codex, and they sport the red and yellow heraldry of a blood claw. Wolf Scout packs have been expanded to include Reavers, Eliminators, and Infiltrators. They're marked with they don't really they have the same Space Wolf gray, but with black heraldry on their shoulder pads. And then, of course, we have the Wolf Guard. They're the elite units, including Blade Guard veterans, battle leaders, wolf priests, captains, and lieutenants. And they're marked with the yellow and black heraldry.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to see where the Reavers are located.
Yeah, and here, the thing is, so a lot of the information is organized in a very confusing manner or kind of hidden along the paintwork in the Codex. It's not really stated implicitly how this all is organized together. That's one of the things the old Codexes did very well. Like it told you how everything is organized, but right now they're really not doing that. I think the main Space Marine book, they might have like a chapter organization thing, which is fine. But the Space Wolves are so different. I'm surprised they're not discussing that at all. So we can assume that some of these roles are mutable depending on the disposition and the use of the unit by the player. So, for example, it might be totally reasonable to paint your Assault Intercessor squad with claw markings, with the red and yellow of a blood claw type unit, or you could paint up a heavy intercessor squad with fang markings because they're kind of more of a heavy unit and more methodical and older. But one thing this Codex does not do well, it just really doesn't help you understand this organization. So hopefully this helps. You could also just look at an old Codex and kind of correlate with that. Like, don't forget, Scout squads are older Space Marines in the Space Wolves. Scout squads are not young space wolves. All the young space wolves are in these claw packs, in these blood claw packs that are more like assault marines.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's kind of the lore up till now. Again, if you want more in-depth, look at older episodes. But I think that really I think what we just talked about brings everybody up to speed on kind of the advancement of the lore in recent years. Do you want to add anything before we move on to the rules, Jason?
No, it's interesting how, the lore has expanded, but it hasn't it's expanded what I feel is a necessary way instead of here we're just gonna throw this at there and it's gonna hack off a lot of people.
I mean, it'll hack people off, but there's no getting around that, right?
Right. And I think it's a good way of putting this. I would like to see more organization, though, especially because, as you mentioned, scouts in Space Wolves is not the same as scouts with the Space Marines. So
right, and there's not even any mention of that in this book. Yeah. So it's really interesting, and I guess a lot of folks always saw the section where they go into detail about each unit as superfluous, like extra space that's wasted.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I thought that was really good information, and I've actually thrown away I used to have a 5th edition Space Wolf Codex, and today I was just kicking myself for throwing it away because now I kind of wish I had it. I might go through eBay and see if I can find some old 5th edition codexes just to have as a reference. But okay,
I've got a bunch of 6th. I've got a bunch of 6th edition, but none of the 5ths.
That's good. So, yeah, I've been meaning to ask some local guys if they want to if I can maybe buy some of their old stuff, like especially some of the things like the Wrath of Magnus and whatnot. It'd be really nice to have those codexes right now, or those source books right now.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, get a drink, and come back and talk about how the rules and stuff are organized in these new codexes.
Blood Ravens Chapter is a Facebook group set up and run by passionate fans of the mysterious Space Marine chapter. They have weekly features, regular competitions, and an encouraging community ethos designed to let people get the most from their hobby. Search for Blood Ravens Chapter Plus on Facebook using the plus symbol if you're a fan or collector of these heroes of the Imperium. Knowledge is power, guard it well. Hello everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Aw, come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him Zotabix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Zotabix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh boy, I'd better feed Max his Zotabix.
Yes, you had.
Zodabix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zot's natural habitat, the finest desert depths.
Ah!
Zodabix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zots are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to talk about the rules in here. A few caveats. First and foremost, we are not in the business of comparing power of the rules with previous editions, the last codex, what they got, what was, quote, taken away, unquote, or whatever. That's not our... Go listen to someone else for that nonsense, because we don't really... Not only are we not qualified to make those distinctions, but also we don't care.
Actually,
So-
that last part's the
That's the main thing. Second of all, keep in mind the rules in the new supplement, in the Codex supplement Space Wolves, do supersede any Space Wolf rules that appear in Saga of the Beast. If it was in Saga of the Beast and it didn't show up in the new book, then it's just gone.
Yeah.
If it was in the Saga of the Beast and it was changed in this, then you have to use this. So either way, forget the Saga of the Beast exists when it comes to Space Wolf rules. I mean, it still has value as a book, just not the Space Wolf rule. You can actually just take your scissors and cut out the Space Wolf rules, and there you go. So I'm actually thinking about taking those and taking the lore and the missions out and doing like a saga or a like I'm sure Flipside is going to put their campaign books on sale, like those supplements. And I'll buy them, and then I'll take them to the UPS store, have the spine sliced off, and get them spiral bound, get all the lore spiral bound together in one big spiral bound lore book, and all the missions and stuff together, all the kind of evergreen rules together in one book. I think that'd be really nice.
That'd be pretty nice.
Okay, so... we could do that with the fifth. Like I was saying, I might try to find some secondhand 5th edition codexes. I could find all the 5th edition codexes, slice out all the lore, and spiral bind it together into one book.
Ooh, the 5th edition lore. Yeah.
The 5th, like just have a giant 5th edition lore book. That would be pretty sweet, actually.
That actually would be.
That's a thought. I might do that.
Yeah. What's funny is I actually have a binding machine that does spiral binding.
Oh, you have one? Oh, yeah, my aunt has one. They're pretty cool. Okay. I wonder if I should pick up one. I should just pick up one. Anyways.
Well, talk to me about it afterwards, because I have all the information where I picked up mine and why I like mine. So
yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So with those caveats out of the way, let's start talking about these new codexes. The new codexes are awesome. Let's first of all, the start of the rules section is okay. Let me rewind a little bit. When it comes to rules, the new codexes are awesome.
Yeah.
So they start off the rules section with this index, this color coded index. Right? Are you looking at your Space Marine one right now?
Yeah, let me pull it out.
Like it starts out with, it tells you where all the stuff is in the rules section itself. It doesn't split up. It doesn't like pointlessly split up the rules between the beginning and the end of the bestiary, like they have been.
It's better organization.
So whatever color it is, there is a sidebar like color block that's that same color, so you can easily know what, and it also has like the subtitle of that section. So for example, matched play rules is red. It's like a red tab, and then you flip over and it's that match play rules section has a red tab with the words match play rules in big bold white letters. It's great. it's nice to have that whole page devoted to that to help people understand where everything is. Now, more seasoned players might, especially match play players, might see that as a waste of space, but you are not the only person who plays this game. So, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that they've got the Crusade rules as well as a what is this? A black tab. And
that's like a separate section.
The organization's just so much nicer than what has been in the past.
I'm really impressed. They have a whole section talking about successor chapters, what you get for having a successor chapter. I'm not sure what this is going to look like, and I really should have spoken to Mark ahead of time, like see what sections are in the Xenos books, but we can talk to him another time. We've had plenty of Necron content recently. I just handed off the Codex and he's like, "Oh, when do we record a game?" I'm like, "We'll talk about that later."
Yeah. Don't worry, Mark.
Just take this Codex and enjoy it. There's no strings attached to this one, buddy. And then they have a combat patrol, which I think is literally the combat patrol box that they sell for Space Wolves.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's nice to show what a small fighting force looks like. But then we start getting into the actual meat and potatoes of the rules. And this is the thing that can trip up some players, both new and old. Like if you're an old player, but you're a casual old player, how to put an army together is sometimes confusing, especially because it changes from edition to edition. I would actually say as a new player, you're actually better off right now because the books are well organized and all you need is the Space Marine Codex really to play anything. Space Marines.
Right.
Sure. You do actually need the Space Wolves supplement to really take advantage of the Space Wolves, but you don't really need to, really.
Yeah.
But having said that, all you need is the Space Wolves supplement and the Space Marines book. Right now, there's really no other rules, and the way this Space Wolves supplement is laid out and how much stuff is in it, I would be very surprised if campaign books in the near future are going to have anything that you absolutely positively must have to play a casual or narrative game to play a casual game of Warhammer, right?
Right.
The Space Wolves can't be chosen as the chapter. They do have a list of units that don't exist in the Space Wolves paradigm. So that's the Apothecary, because the Wolf Priest serves as the role of the Apothecary in the Space Wolves. Wolf Priest doesn't. They actually have a stratagem that lets them heal units like an Apothecary. But they also count as the chaplains. So a Wolf Priest serves two roles in the Space Wolves. Then you have the Assault Squad. That doesn't exist. Those exist as Sky Claws and Blood Claws. So they're the young, impetuous warriors that get thrown into battle. Then you have the Devastator Squads. They don't exist, but they exist as Long Fangs in this book. Then they're like older, seasoned, patient warriors who operate heavy weapons. There are no Stern Guard veteran or Vanguard veteran squads. Those roles are handled by the Wolf Guard. And there are no tactical squads. That's handled by Grey Hunters. They're very similar. All of these are very similar, but they're just slightly different. Like the Sky Claws and Blood Claws, they can actually have like one Terminator veteran, a Wolf Guard there to like calm them down keep that arrow pointed in the right direction, and stop them from falling. So I think maybe their main function in those units of claws is to stop those space wolves from falling to the wolfen. Really,
Yeah,
in the rules they stop them from charging the nearest enemy, even when they don't want to. But that's basically what they're doing. They do use the Space Marines war gear list. So most of the old Space Wolf special war gear is now located in the Relics section in one way or another. Like the frost weapons. Those are all just like special war gear. Otherwise, you just use power weapons and whatever. You get all the Space Marine abilities. So Angels of Death, you get all of those. So, and they shall know no fear, where you ignore combat attrition modifiers. You get Bolter Discipline, which you get to double shoot with your rapid fire weapons if you stand still, or if you're a Terminator or a biker. You get Shock Assault, which is the +1 attack if you're charged or you're charging or heroically intervene, which there's a lot of that with Space Wolves. Like if you're playing Space Wolves, you're usually going to be getting that +1 attack. And we'll talk more about that later. Then Combat Doctrines. Now, Combat Doctrines are special. That's the thing where every turn you are in a specific doctrine. So you start at Assault or at Devastator.
Right.
And then you move on to Tactical Doctrine. Then I think on turn 4, you switch to Assault Doctrine. I think it's you have to do it by turn 4. I think you can do it at any time after. I think you can do it at 3 if you want to. Anyways, in order to use Combat Doctrines, your whole army has to be Adeptus Astartes. So you can have like a detachment of Space Wolves and a detachment of Blood Angels, for example, or Dark Angels, and you'd still get Combat Doctrines. But if you add like a detachment of Imperial Guard, you'll lose it.
Got it. I'm wondering if I had to go back and look at that in the rules. If you could add an Inquisitor or something like that.
You can. Okay. All of the army purity stuff is trumped by Agents of the Imperium and Unaligned. But
got it.
I'm not going to say that every. We'll have a few things that use that language.
Yeah.
So then you have detachment abilities. There's some abilities that only work if your detachment is a Space Wolves detachment. So some of the claw units get headstrong. So if they don't have a Wolf Guard, they'll have to charge the closest enemy. And they also have Berserk Charge, which gives them +1 attack on the charge. So that's in addition to their usual +1 attack from Angels of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy. It's like, so if you have a chainsword, you're looking at like 4, 5, 6 attacks. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's Space Wolves, right?
Yeah. So they should be that dead in assault.
Yeah. So if your Space Wolves units have Combat Doctrines, some of them don't, I guess, but most of them do. You get Savage Fury, which works in the Assault Doctrine only. Natural 6s in combat score 1 additional hit. So not only are you getting all these attacks, but you're also exploding 6s to hit for Space Wolves, which is really good. Then you have the chapter tactics for Space Wolves. The chapter tactic is actually described in the Space Marines Codex. You get +1 to hit when you're charged, or you perform a heroic intervention. Not only that, everyone in the Codex can perform a heroic intervention. Even all the troops. So it's basically like the Tau Overwatch ability, except for combat.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It's freaking, if you charge anything in Space Wolves, you're going to get countercharged and it's going to hurt. Because everybody's going to get an extra attack because they performed a heroic intervention or they were charged. Some of them are going to get 2 extra attacks, and then everybody still gets a +1 to hit. So charging against Space Wolves is a really bad idea. Also, letting Space Wolves charge you is a really bad idea. Long story short is you need to kill them.
Just keep shooting.
Just keep shooting, yes. So, and you'll find like there's stratagems that let you consolidate really far. So even if you screen, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So Space Wolves detachments also get the use of Space Wolf stratagems. Now, since you're a Space Wolf detachment, you're also an Adeptus Astartes detachment. So you get all the Adeptus Astartes stuff like we just discussed. So you get not only do you get the Angels of Death, which is an army-wide thing, you also get all your troops in your detachment get objectives secured. You get chapter command, which lets you upgrade all your guys, all your characters to like chief librarian or what do you call it? Chapter ancient or whatever. In Space Wolves, Ulrich the Slayer is a Master of Sanctity, Niall Stormcaller is Chief Librarian, and Logan Grimnar is the Chapter Master. I think there's some language in there, like you can only have one of each in an army or something.
Correct.
So just keep that in mind. Yeah. And you can also use just the generic Space Marine stratagems, which some of those are really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I am going to get Quinn out of his crib.
So I'm going to talk about the stratagems real quick while you do that.
Okay.
So stratagems. So if your army includes any Space Wolf detachments that aren't just auxiliary type detachments, Space Wolf units in your army can use the Space Wolf stratagems. They can also use regular Space Marine stratagems as well, based on the fact that your Space Wolves are also Adeptus Astartes detachments. It's worded this way because if you do include other Space Wolves in mixed detachments or in auxiliary detachments, they can still use them as long as you have another more substantial Space Wolf detachment. Detachments are split into color-coded organizations. So we've got Battle Tactics, Epic Deeds, Requisitions, and Strategic Ploys. So both Adam and I kind of camp with what do we like which stratagems do we like? And the stratagem that I picked was
real quick. I really enjoy the fact that they color coded these they color coded these
stratagems
because it at a glance you can say, oh, I'm looking for a stratagem that upgrades characters.
Right.
Then you know to look in that requisition section, or if you're like, oh, I'm looking for a stratagem that does something in combat, you know to ignore all those green ones, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's super.
That is
that's
nice.
Super helpful for looking things up at a glance.
Yeah. Yes, that's one of the nice things about the new Codex layout is, well, the new Codex layout, for at least the rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the stratagem that I really liked, and as we're going through the stratagems, I seem to gravitate towards very certain ones consistently.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, because I noticed that I was doing that and thought, wow, okay, that's
I was basically
funny.
building an army as we went.
Yeah, it did get to that. So mine was the stratagem I liked was the Emperor's Executioners for 1 command point.
Mm-hmm.
And this used the stratagem during the fight phase. When a Space Wolves unit from your army is selected to fight until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack against a Thousand Suns unit, you can reroll the hit and reroll the wound rolls. Which, that's a lot. That's a brutal attack after talking about the previous rules.
Yeah, especially if you're rolling with things like Power Fists and whatever, where it might be a little harder to hit. And you're doing extra damage, and they're not going to get the +1 save against it because it's more than 1 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you want to see. Now, I was online today and I saw someone complaining about the specific Dark Angels versus Fallen abilities in their codex, and I'm like, you guys, come on, guys, this is the thematic stuff. Like, nobody's ever going to use that. When are you ever going to fight a Fallen? It's like, who cares? That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you could just say that the other Dark Angels army, if it's 2 Dark Angels players against each other, just say, hey, you're the Fallen. You're the Fallen. So
you're like Spider-Man pointing at himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I think that's that's a great example. I think that's fun and thematic.
Yeah.
So you see at this show, this is the kind of thing we appreciate. This isn't the kind of thing we pan. This is the quality content you're gonna get from us. And in the background, you'll have a baby beeping a toy horn, which is exactly the kind of content you came here for today, right, Quinn? Okay. Anyways, my example. I have 2 examples. Sorry. One is Countercharge. This one's really, 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 really good. It lets you heroically intervene 6 inches. If it's a unit, it costs you 1 CP. If it's a character, it costs you 0 CP.
Oh,
it's pretty awesome.
Oh man, that is pretty awesome.
The other one though, the more thematic, like that one's thematic, sure, but the other one that's like super thematic is Deed Worthy of a Saga. This one's 2 CP. A character who doesn't have a Warlord trait, they can actually get the Saga ability for performing a deed, even if they don't have that Warlord trait. We'll talk more about that later, but I mean, it's just because you're not the Warlord, doesn't mean you're not performing, heroic deeds on the battlefield.
All right, and that then brings us to Warlord traits. Mm-hmm. So, if a Space Wolf character is your Warlord, you can choose a Space Wolf Warlord trait for them. There are no other restrictions. Lone Wolves can't take that. I read that today in the Legends, but
yeah, they're not going to be the Warlord.
Yeah, they just can't. All right, so my example, Hunter, which I thought this was really cool. You add 1 to the advance and charge rolls made for the Warlord. Mm-hmm. The Warlord is then eligible to charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back.
That's awesome. And we're not talking about falling back, Jason. We're talking about falling forward into the enemy.
That's right. I also liked Resolve of the Bear, which is basically 6 up, feel no pain, and your enemy combatant cannot reroll hits or wounds versus the Warlord. I really liked that part. That is one too.
Amazing. Yeah, you can't not being able to reroll is denying rerolls seems like a really cool way to show a warrior's toughness. I like that.
Yeah, that one was a difficult one.
Yeah, it would be neat to see things like can't reroll hits in shooting if you're like shrouded or whatever. I think that would be a neat one to see in the future. The one I picked was Wolfkin. Yeah, they always count as having charged for the purposes of shock assault, and they get plus D3 attacks instead of +1 when they do it.
Yeah, I saw that. That was...
They're just like infused with the spirit of the wolf, of the Wolfen, which you'll have a very feral Space Wolf. The named character who has that is Canis Wolfborn. He has that as his base because his great company is the one that is very into the feral nature of the Space Wolves. They've got more Wolfkin in their great company than anywhere else.
Yeah. And then we have some faction unique rules. So, and this is really interesting because we were going over notes last night and putting this together. And I saw that, we had these saga rules. I was like, this is new.
Yeah, it's totally separate from everything else. Like it's on top of, it's really on top of everything else. There's no generic, heading that this is under. It's just something
Right.
you get.
And that is really, really quite interesting and pretty cool. So, Space Wolf's character with a Space Wolf's Warlord trait can perform a deed during the battle and then get the use of a saga ability associated with that deed for the rest of the battle. And the sagas are associated with that character's Warlord trait.
Right. They have to have that Warlord trait to get this saga.
Yeah, so I went ahead and took Hunter again because, one, it's what I was supposed to take, and two, it's the one I liked really the best. So the deed would be successfully charge an enemy unit with this model. And the saga effect, the aura, would be while a friendly Space Wolf's core unit is within 6 inches of this model, that unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced. While a friendly Space Wolf's core unit with the Swift Hunter's ability is within 6 inches of this model, that unit is eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. Which I think that's... Yeah.
So these sagas are interesting in that I think all if not most of them, what they do is they give your Warlord an aura.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I started talking already. Hold on. I'll do a pause. So it's really interesting what it looks like these sagas do. When you finish the deed, your Warlord gets an aura that basically provides his Warlord trait to the units within 6 inches. So for the one you chose, we just said was
Hunter.
They get the ability to fall back and charge, which is awesome. The Resolve of the Bear that you talked about earlier does the same thing. It gives the 6-up ignore wounds. And for the Wolfkin, I would need to destroy an enemy model in combat. If I do that, the Saga Aura is all the core units within 6 inches always treated as having charged for their shock assault. Which in Space Wolves with...
God.
Yeah. So that's a lot of attacks.
Yeah, that is. That's pretty brutal. Yeah.
But again, it's very compartmentalized, so it is an extra thing added on top of regular Space Marine stuff, but it's very focused on the character. That one Warlord, that one character, so it's not like an army-wide thing that's going to break the game. If you really want to get rid of that aura, kill the Warlord.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just it. That's what Space Wolves are. Space Wolves are very alpha character centered. All your army is going to be themed on that character. If it's not, then you haven't developed a very thematic Space Wolves army.
Yeah, that's very true. That does seem to be what they're working with now, is pushing the narrative, play stuff, even more. So
Absolutely.
So then I guess we'll talk about relics. This is kind of interesting. So your Warlord must be a Space Wolf's character in order for you to select Space Wolf relic or for a Space Wolf character in your army. And the one I chose, I don't know. Every time I see a plasma pistol as a relic item, I just kind of automatically take it. So that's how I've kind of rolled my entire 40K existence. Has always been, is there a plasma pistol? I'll take it. Even if it was terrible, I would always take it. So anyways, here we go. Fireheart, which is an ancient plasma pistol, strength 9, AP -4, and damage of 3. I thought,
that's beautiful.
It's still pistol 1, but that's a character killer.
And you're going to be in combat all the time. So yeah, pistol's great.
Yeah.
Pistol's really great for that. I like it. The one I chose, also going with the theme of my fake army that I'm putting together, is the Wolfenstone. The Wolfenstone is this russet colored diamond that's usually kept under lock and key, like in the depths of the Fang, because it basically houses the spirit of a Wolfen. So if you bring it into combat, it inspires nearby Space Wolves to tap into their inner Wolfen and fight even harder. which is really dangerous.
Yeah.
But it gives your character a aura, 6-inch aura called Bestial Charge. Units within 6 inches reroll their charges, and their Savage Fury generates an extra attack on a 5+ instead of a 6+. So again, this fake character of mine is already letting units is already giving them they're always being treated as having shock assault, and because of that they're also always generating extra attacks on a 5+ and a 6+, and they always have a +1 to hit. Like, it's just everybody's a Wolfen basically. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, man, there's some numbers there that are pretty scary.
It's some dirt, but it's not like I don't know if it's any good, but I just was going with a Wolfen theme here with all my selections.
Well, I figure if you've got some sort of what they used to call them, if you've got some character that you can surround with chaff who's just basically beating on everybody, then
it's great.
Yeah. All right. So special issue war gear. So if your warlord is a space wolf or a space wolf successor, then you can give these to your characters. You can also give these to sergeants with the Thane of the Retinue stratagem.
Yeah.
Some of these are generic duplicates, such as Artificer armor. Master crafted weapons and digital weapons.
Right, those exist in other books. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I saw that when I was looking through the special issue war gear, and I thought, wow, okay, this is now they've moved that there. That's kind of interesting. So note that frost weapons are now a special issue war gear instead of basic war gear option.
Mm-hmm.
So my choice was the runic weapon, which is for the librarian only, and +1 to deny the witch test taken for the bearer. And when you give this model, or you give a model this relic, select one of the following weapons the model is equipped with: force axe, stave, or force sword. Add one to the strength characteristic of that weapon. That weapon is now considered to be a chapter relic. Right. Probably not the best relic I could have come up with, but I really found it interesting.
I think it's great, dude. Yeah. +1 strength. It's like, but the +1
force
deny
swords,
the witch is really good. That's neat. This kind of makes me remember, like, keep in mind, like, things like captains, chapter masters. Well, I guess chapter masters is a stratagem, but like captains and wolf, and the rune priests and stuff. Those aren't separate data sheets anymore. You're just going to use the librarian, and they count as the wolf priest now.
Yeah.
So anything they can get, you can get for your space wolves. But this runic weapon really gives you some really neat abilities. And sometimes Deny the Witch can be really deadly for your opponent.
Yeah.
Because they're relying on, especially if your opponent is a Thousand Suns, they're really relying on those powers to go off.
Yeah. Well, that
go ahead.
The +1 strength for the sword, that force sword is great, because that's kind of the issue I've always had with the force sword is it looks really cool, but it's like, it doesn't, it's strength user. So if you're up against other space marines, too bad.
And you're also a space wolf librarian. You're a space wolf, like Wolfie Wolf rune priest.
Yeah.
So you have an extra attack when you're charged or charging. You have re-rolling you getting extra hits on 6s.
That's true.
Because you're a space wolf. So you're actually even doing better in combat because you're a space wolf with that runic weapon. So it's all very thematic. You're very angry because you're, you got that wolfen. You got that, or you have the spirit of the fang within you that wants to be released. Yes. So we've also got, I chose the Wolftail Talisman. So whether due to superstitious belief made manifest or due to some actual power, they provide a 4+ to ignore each mortal wound in the psychic phase, which is nice.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Actually, that is.
Yeah, 4+ is pretty good.
Yeah. Especially with
I would say if you put that on a unit instead of a character, I think that's a good one.
yeah. Well, especially with how prevalent Smite is, especially in Thousand Suns. That I think with my demons in one of our games that I just kept dropping Smite and really whittling down your some of your Drakari. So
right, I would definitely use the Thane of the Retinue stratagem to give that to like a big screening unit that you'd throw into the enemy, like an anti-psyker unit for sure.
Yeah,
like
that'd be a really cool way to do that.
Yeah.
All right, so psychic disciplines. So Space Wolves can now know all the psychic powers from this new discipline, or they can choose a different Space Marine discipline, such as Librarius or Obscuration. So
you can't mix them though. So you can't have like one from Librarius, one from the Space Wolf one, Tempestus.
Yeah. Yeah, and that Obscuration is something, well, that one's only for Phobos. Oh, so the example I came up with, and I really love this one. It's, as I was reading it, I kind of started laughing about it. Reminded me a lot of, what was it, second or third edition, that people could like charge units after they destroyed a unit in combat, so they could charge the next unit. And this vaguely reminds me of that. It's called Living Lightning. So it's a warp value of 6. If manifested, the closest enemy unit within 18 inches of the unit, of the bearer, caster, and visible to the psyker, suffers D3 mortal wounds. Okay, so it's a nice smite. All right, then you roll 1d6 on a 2 through 4. The closest other enemy unit within 6 inches of invisible to that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 5-up, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. I thought that was hilarious.
Cool. That's fun.
Yeah. That made me laugh when I read it. And I realized that means I have a terrible sense of humor, but I've never denied that.
Mine was Instincts Awoken. So the Rune Priest awakens the Wolfen in a unit of Space Marines, and the power activates the Assault Doctrine for them. If it's already in the Assault Doctrine, instead of an additional AP of -1, it has an additional AP of -2. So if you have a unit of Assault Intercessors, their Astartes Chainswords go from -1 to -3. So their Astartes Chainswords are basically power swords at that point. And they're exploding on 5s, and they have +1 to hit, and.
Oh, man. Wow.
So that's the one I chose because I'm a jerk. Dude, this Wolfen idea is a really good idea for an army. I love it.
I wonder how our friend Brandon Skips Brothers, how he would look at that.
Probably a terrible choice. I don't know.
Yeah. Good Lord. That would be... Yeah. Okay. All right, so new chapter are chapter-approved rules. So these are new secondary objectives. They're only available to armies made entirely of Space Wolves, excluding Agents of the Imperium and unaligned units, and with the Space Wolf's Warlord.
Right, you have to have that Warlord.
Yeah. So what do we have here? We have, I guess you can still use generic Space Marine secondary objectives.
Yep.
But,
as long as your whole army is Space Marines, you can use the Space Marine secondary objectives.
So, purge the enemy. We've got glory kills. So, on a kill, that's 3 victory points, or deal 3 wounds, 1 victory point to a character and or monster for max of 6 victory points per turn. Oof.
Yeah.
Then we have a heroic challenge. Space Wolf's character issues a challenge in the command phase, and defender accepts with one of their characters to accept it. Score 5 victory points for each. Challenge unit was destroyed by melee, destroyed melee by that unit that issued the challenge.
Yeah. So it brings back challenges, which everybody misses.
Yeah.
No one misses them. But I think it makes sense for the Space Wolves. Like the Space Wolf is like, who's gonna fight me? And then the enemy says, all right, I guess I'll fight you. Or the warlord points at some other jerk and says, you're gonna fight that guy. And then he says, you go hide. Face me, you coward, as the Space Wolf character tries to chase him down and find him.
Or my
which
favorite,
which would be really funny for anything like Alfarius. Like,
Yeah.
I am Alfarius, and then it wasn't me. It's this other guy.
or my favorite line. Hey, Bill, which one of these guys is your warlord? Okay, I'll drop an orbital bombardment on him. Cool.
That's not a challenge. Well, yes, you have to kill him yourself to get the full 15 VP,
Yeah. But
which is
still.
fair. That's really great. So yeah, I like glory kills. That one's really cool. You get more VP for killing characters or monsters. That's really nice. For no mercy, no respite, just keep those headings in mind, because you can only have one secondary objective per heading. Mighty Saga, you get VP for your warlord performing of various heroic deeds during the battle. It's kind of like Honor the Chapter from the main Space Wolves book, except it's all about your warlord doing stuff, not your army doing stuff.
Yeah.
Then you have Warrior Pride, which is 3 VP for charging and fighting in combat with 2 or more units per turn. But that one seems like an easy one to do for Space Wolves, because you're always going to want to be in combat with multiple things. Especially there's a really sweet stratagem that lets you that lets you consolidate 6 inches.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
That's pretty nice.
So I'm just going to reiterate, if you're playing an all Space Wolves army, you just get all this stuff. That's all you have to remember. All you have to remember is you take your Space Marine rulebook and your Space Wolf rulebook, and you get all the stuff.
Yeah.
You just get the things, okay? But if you're doing a mixed army of Space Wolves and like Imperial Guard or Imperial Knights, you just have to keep track of what you have access to. Like, all your units get the And They Shall Know No Fear, Bolter Discipline, and Sock Assault. If you have non-Astartes if you have a Space Wolves army with no non-Astartes detachments, you get the Combat Doctrine, Space Marine secondaries, Space Wolf secondaries. If you just have a Space Wolves detachment with a friend, you still get the Space Wolf chapter tactics, and you still get the Space Wolf stratagems. So you still get all that stuff. Space Wolf characters, if you even if you have them in a mixed Imperium detachment, they still can select a warlord trait, which opens access to the relics and the sagas. So if you're doing if you're doing like a narrative army with various Imperium models in it, and you don't care about detachment abilities, you can still select things like warlord traits and whatever.
It's interesting, as we were kind of going over this, I was thinking about some of the soup armies from 8th edition and how that just essentially nukes those armies. You know?
Right. A lot of this stuff you just don't get if...
Yeah.
You can still play it, like, to be perfectly honest, the way you're doing your Thousand Suns army is basically like that.
Yeah.
You're just picking whatever you think is most fun and taking it. And that's a totally legitimate way to play your army if that's how you want to do it. But just keep in mind, don't sell yourself short. If you can put an army together that's copacetic, this is how you do it.
Oh yeah. Oh, with the Thousand Sun army, I mean, I can actually stay all Thousand Suns out of that codex. Although, because horrors don't have the Thousand Suns keyword, if I remember correctly, they don't get hardly anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting, like I said, you can play your army however you want. You still get a bunch of the special abilities. If you are running it this way, you get all this extra stuff on top of it. So do you want to quickly talk about, I think this is our most exciting, well, okay, the second most exciting thing here is Crusade.
Yeah.
We've got some Crusade stuff in here. They're a lot more forgiving than the detachment stuff above, because they know that you're going to have a mixture of, you're probably going to have a mixture of things in your army, or sorry, in your roster. You might have a bunch of different stuff going on. Pretty much everything in the Crusade rules applies to specific units, specific models, specific characters. They don't really care what your detachments look like when you play your games. So there are new agendas. Jason, we went through and we picked our favorite, or the thing we think was most interesting. Jason, would you like to give your agenda example?
Yeah, so I was kind of looking through them, and there's some really cool ones in there, but one really jumped out. Well, actually, two of them jumped out at me. And you picked the other one that I liked. But the one that was my absolute favorite was A Glorious Death. You can only select this agenda if you have a lone wolf in your army. If that lone wolf is destroyed during the battle by an attack made by an enemy character, vehicle, or monster, you can remove that unit from your order of battle instead of taking an out-of-action test for it. If you do so, each other Space Wolf unit in your army gains 2 experience points. I thought that was really, really cool. Just because of, they'd be watching this last glorious fight of this lone wolf.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, that was like, they're all narrative, but that one like really jumped out at me. What do you have?
And that's something we talked about before, right? Like intentionally removing models from your roster because in your imagination, in your story, they actually were destroyed or killed in battle.
Yeah.
I did that with my looted wagon with my orcs a few sessions ago with the Queensberry guys. This thing exploded. It doesn't exist in my roster anymore, but I'm going to use the parts, i.e. the power level, to put together a battle wagon because that just makes sense. I'm going to loot it and make a battle wagon.
Oh, yeah.
So my example is an audacious boast. There's a huge list of deeds listed in audacious boast that you can choose from. You can choose any. You can just choose just one of them. You can choose all of them if you feel like you can do it. For example, one of them is tear through their armor. Your character will destroy an enemy vehicle unit during the battle. So you'll say, "Oh, I'm going to kill a unit. I'm going to kill a vehicle during this battle." I'm going to get drunk and say I'm going to leave behind a trail of corpses, meaning you'll kill 10 or more enemy models.
Is there one for staring at the sun?
Right? Exactly. So there's a bunch of them in here, and you get 1 experience point for each one that you accomplish, but only if you accomplish all of them.
Yeah.
So if you say you're going to accomplish 5 and you do accomplish 5, you get 5 extra experience points.
Oof.
But if you accomplish 4 out of the 5 that you say you're going to accomplish, you get 0.
Rough.
Well,
rough.
You're the jerk who claims you can do all this stuff.
That's true, but that is Space Wolves.
If you say, you know what, I didn't get drunk enough to claim I'm going to do much. I only got slightly drunk off of Fjord. So I only said I'm never going to back down from a fight. So your character will perform a heroic intervention in every one of your opponent's charge phases, assuming he is eligible to do so.
Oh, that would be cool.
If you're never eligible to do so, you'll still get the 1 experience point.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's hardly in the spirit of the thing, but so if you keep it, if you temper it, if you only pick 3 things, I think you can pretty much guarantee you'll always do it.
Right.
But hey, where's the challenge in that? Pick 5 things. Hell, pick 8 things. Because there are 8 things. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things you could possibly choose. You could conceivably get 10 experience points. I don't think that's possible. It's not just Warlord either. It's any character can do this. Okay. Next we have Requisitions. There's new Requisitions. There's not a lot, obviously. How many can you possibly have? But Jason, what Requisition did you pick?
I went with the Lone Wolf Requisition.
That's neat.
Because I found it really quite. For some reason, I think I just zeroed in on Lone Wolves last night. So purchase this Requisition with the Space Wolves infantry unit that contains 2 or more models. Well, I have a typo there. But whenever that unit gains a battle scar, all right, remove that unit from your order of battle and replace with the appropriate option from the list below. So if you have a Primaris unit, then you have a Primaris Lieutenant. If you have a Terminator unit, then you get a Wolf Guard Battle Leader and Termi armor. And if neither of the above, then it's just a Lieutenant unit, which I thought that was actually really cool. Each time this model makes a melee attack, you can re-roll the hit roll. So
yeah, they get an extra special ability for doing that.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really interesting and neat.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you pick?
I picked the Hero of Renown. So if a unit achieved its deed associated with its Warlord trait during that battle, it actually counts as having always achieved it from now on. Ooh. So my Wolfen character will always provide the always having counted as having been charged to everyone within 6 inches. So because you achieved the deed.
Yeah.
Why would that ever change? You will, once you achieve the deed, you achieve the deed, right? So I think it makes sense to have like a neat requisition that lets you always have. I would save it though for something that's really epic.
Right.
So like, for example, the one you were looking at, you get that deed if you charge something.
Right.
It better be something pretty epic for you to always claim that deed, right? Like,
right.
I technically charged a unit of Gretchen, so I will pick Hero of Renown. No. Maybe if you charge a Chaos Knight or a Lord of Change, then we'll talk about Hero of Renown for achieving that deed.
Well, how big is the Gretchen unit, though?
Fair point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm only trying to help out our buddy Phil, who is convinced that Gretchen are overpowered. But then again, that's because someone I know will dump large Gretchen blobs on people. So,
What? All right. So there are new battle traits.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, there's only new battle traits for Wolf Priest units, Cavalry units, Beast units, and Character units. There's no extra battle traits for generic units or vehicles.
Yeah, I noticed that because I was kind of digging through and trying to decide what I was most interested in.
Right. To be fair, this is really thematic for specifically Space Wolves.
Yeah.
I'm sure if and when we get a Iron Hands supplement, there will be vehicle ones, right?
Oh yeah.
Or salamanders.
Oh yeah. That's a good point.
Yep.
Yeah. And melt weapon. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I chose the Space Wolf Cavalry unit, Bionic Enhancement. So it gives them it's a 6-up feel no pain, but it's one of those, they're enhanced with metal, something a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Like Cyber Wolves or whatever.
Yeah.
Neat. And that gives them the feel no pain 6+.
Yeah. My
example was for a character unit, I chose Mark of the Wolfen, which fair. So in addition to his D3 extra attacks when he's charged, whenever he's within 6 inches of a Wolfen, he gets another +1 attack. Or sorry, Mark of the Wolfen just gives you +1 attack. If he's within 6 inches of a Wolfen, he'll have an extra 2 attacks. Oof. This character has so many attacks at this point. I don't know what's going on. I wouldn't even be able. I would need an abacus to keep
I was
track of how many
thinking that.
attacks this guy has. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's like, can we just do his attacks first, because there may not be anything left for the rest of the units they're with, and just make it easy. Yeah.
Well, let's wait till you see. Well, let's keep it. Keep it going. Deeds of making.
So this is a special battle honor that characters can select. You can only have one deed of making.
Which makes sense for Space Wolves, right? Like Space Wolves would have even more stuff stacked on their characters. Like we were talking about before, when we have a Salamanders supplement, I'm sure they'll have a lot, instead of character stuff, it'll be like war gear. You'll be able to select more war gear or upgrades to your weapons for the Salamanders.
I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing. It's allowing people to be a little more what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe granular in the way that they develop their armies.
Yeah, and that's what you want with Crusade. You want to get more granular and more crunchy. Yeah. Which one did you pick? What deed making did you pick?
The one that I wish I had now for my Thousand Sun Sorcerer, which is Weird Meat. Out of action tests taken for this model are automatically passed. So it's narrative armor right there.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Dude, my succubus has had two out of action like rolls of a 1. It's terrible. Ooh. 2 battle scars for her so far. It's the worst. But she's always in the fray. It makes sense. My example is called Red Axe. Which I think you would add these to their name actually. Like, anyways, if there's five or more enemy models within engagement range, he gets +1 attack. So that's more. I think we're up to like 20. We're just up to 20 attacks now or something.
Basically, just a hammer. Like a sledgehammer against these minis is what he is. I mean, Lord,
I would think you think he should have like power claws or something, or wolf claws, just just another.
So they get shred too? Okay.
Yeah, shred and +1 attack. Yes, it's just like 100 attacks.
Be more difficult too.
There are actually only two. There are only 2 more relics in here.
Yeah.
So Jason will talk about the Antiquity Relic, which means a character of heroic or higher can take it, and then there's a legendary relic that I'm going to talk about.
Okay, I took the Weird Maker's Helm. So once per turn, you can reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, and 1 damage roll made for the bearer. And what I really liked, and this is what caught me, was that 4+ invul save. Yeah. Yeah,
that'll be really nice. Put that on your Wolf Priest or your Rune Priest, and he's carving dudes up with that Force Sword.
Yeah.
Snickety snooch. Then they have the Spear of Russ, which is hilarious. It's a spear that Leman Russ never actually. He's like, I don't like this thing. Get this away from me. This is cursed. And then someone would always bring it back to him. He'd be like, I don't want. Why do you people keep taking this? I don't want it. Why do you keep retrieving this stupid spear? So once per battle, you can. It's like it's not on your profile until you grab it, right? And when that turn you can throw it as an assault weapon. It does like 6 damage. It's pretty cool. Or as a melee weapon, it does 3 damage. Strength times 2. But that would be really good if you have 100 attacks, right? Like, I feel like
you
can only use it once per game, but when you have it in hand, all the friendly models around you have -1 to hit.
What an odd rule. But yeah, it's narrative. It's funny. It's Crusade rule. Just it's a little interesting,
It's fantastic. All right, we have the most important part right now.
That's right.
Jason, do you have your D6s? Ready?
Yeah, actually I do. I have my Adepticon D6s that I received for not going to Adepticon 2020.
All right. Would you like to roll your personal name?
All right, is this 1d6 or 2?
1d6. Your character. This is your character's personal name. It's 2d6. Yep.
Okay. Is it like 56 or 11?
Yeah, it's D66. So.
Okay, so 56.
56. That is Karlf. It's like Carl, but with a f at the end.
Okay.
Karlf. Last name or epithet.
All right.
2d6 again.
43.
Karlf Weirdfang. Ooh.
That's actually not bad.
Karlf Weirdfang. Well met, Karlf Weirdfang. My name is Verald Trollbane. I've killed many a troll, let me tell you. I've killed so many trolls. I have a lot of attacks, trust me. I've killed so many trolls.
I think that Karl Wolffang is much better than Carlos Tullus for the.
It's true. It's very similar.
Maybe we should send this to him.
Right. So the Codex has a lot of army-specific data sheets in it. This is kind of why these armies need their own supplement. Well, one of the many reasons why. The Claw, Guard, Hunter, and Scout are not keywords. And they don't get added to any of the default data sheets like the Primaris units. So there's no like interplay of rules between, like there's no all claw units can use this stratagem to do more attacks or whatever. A lot of that stuff is baked into the data sheets themselves anyways.
Right.
And I think they're trying to avoid cross-referencing. They're not like, oh, add the claw keyword to all assault intercessor units, or add the wolf scout keyword to all of your incursors or whatever. They don't do that. But you can, I would still like go through and paint your Space Wolf miniatures with the appropriate like shoulder pad based on their role in the army. So anyways, it's safe to assume that young Primaris Space Marines are still represented by packs of Blood Claws, kind of in the same way that Primaris still spend time as scouts. They're not, Primaris scouts, they're scouts. They're scouts, Space Marines. Don't forget, Wolf Scouts are represented by veteran warriors, not young warriors. Mm-hmm. Wolf Scouts are patient. They have tempered the Wolfen. They do infiltrating tactics and stuff. Wolf Scouts are not the same as Space Marine Scouts. Keep that in mind when you're developing the combat doctrine for your army and the layout of your army and like the paint and the shoulder pads and stuff.
Yeah.
So Jason,
all right.
We went through and we each picked one unit to talk about from the army.
Yeah. I had kind of I was trying to figure out which one I would like the best. And I put down two, but I only chose one because I saw what you had chosen. I was thinking the Lone Wolf, or maybe the Wolf and Dreadnought, Murder Fang. Yeah.
Fangs of Murder.
Yeah. Both have really strong narratives. Both either because of stories or, short stories, novels, whatever. But I decided to go ahead and stay with the Lone Wolf. It is part of the Legends rules set now. Although, as we stated above, I guess there's a new way to get a Lone Wolf, by just calling it a lieutenant of some sort or whatever.
Yeah.
One of the things I did like about the Lone Wolf rules from the Legends rule set, the weapons, you have pistols, you have plasma pistols, you have combi weapons.
Mm-hmm.
lots of melee weapons to choose from. And we have a couple of special rules. We have Worthy of a Saga, which reroll failed wound rolls of 1 when attacking a character or monster in the fight phase, which, yeah. And then A Glorious Death. I like this one actually quite a bit. So roll a d6 each time this model loses his final wound. On a 4-up, the wound is not lost. In addition, if this model is slain in the fight phase, once the unit that slew him has made its attacks, you can attack with him before removing him as a casualty, even if he's already attacked that phase. So it's a chance to, one last swing, which reminds me of some of the Wolfen rules from 7th edition. To the things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. It's like, yeah, you've taken him down, but he's not going down without a fight. And it's definitely a glorious death. He also has an army of 1, which means he can never have a warlord trait. And Savage Fury. So, while the Assault Doctrine is active, if an unmodified hit roll of a 6 is made for an attack made with a melee weapon by a unit with this ability, that attack scores 1 additional hit on the target. So it's still exploding 6s.
Right. They have the same exploding 6s ability. It's nice that these kinds of things are in the legends. Lets you take whatever you want. But again, like you said, the lieutenants and stuff also work really well as a lone wolf. I believe the 8th edition Codex had a stratagem that if there was if a unit only had 1 model left, you could spend a command point, and then that model becomes a lone wolf or something. I thought that was neat. I would say, if you're playing a narrative game, that would be a fun. You could do that, or again, like you were saying, like the requisition that you chose, the lone wolf requisition. That's a neat way to go about using that as well. I'm really, like I said, I'm really glad that they're continuing support for stuff that's no longer being used with Legends, which is nice. My choice was the Wolfen. Because apparently we're going with a theme here.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for making jokes about Wolfie Wolf, but this is an integral part of the lore. If you want to paint your Space Wolves gray without any blue in it, and you don't want to put pelts on them and whatever, feel free to play 30k if you want. I'm going to play 40k, and my guys are all going to be crazy barbarian people from Norway. It is what it is. They have amazing stats. They, like everything else, they have 2 wounds now. Lots of attacks. Like the base guys have 3 attacks. They're really cool. They have the 3-up weapon skill. But they do only have a 4+ armor because they have like this patchwork armor. But their movement is 8 inches. They're so fast. They have toughness 5, strength 5. Because the Wolfen is coming out, they've gone Krenos, man. It's just all there is to it. Everybody starts with these Wolfen claws, which are -1 AP strength user, but they don't. There's no like +1 attack. The extra attacks are kind of built into the Wolfen. Anybody can take the Storm Frag Auto Launcher, which is like this blast weapon. These are 8 power, by the way, for 5 guys.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then 16 power for 10 guys. Well, it's because they can also take Frost Claws. Frost Axe, a great Frost Axe, which is strength +3, AP -3, damage 2. Or a Thunderhammer Storm Shield, which is Thunderhammer Storm Shield, which is crazy. So I would prefer to mix it up with the Wolfen, not go full Thunderhammer Storm Shield on everybody. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so they have Death Frenzy. So if a model dies, if it hasn't fought already, it gets to fight. So everybody gets to at least fight, which is nice.
Right.
Bestial Rage, they can't perform actions. So they can't they're not going to sit there and recover archaeotech for you during a battle.
Oh no. Okay. Yeah.
That's not a thing.
I was wondering
do.
about that. I was like, what do you mean by actions? Oh, those. Yeah, of course not. Okay.
Yeah, clearly. They have Wolf and Howl, which they have. This is one of the few non-character units that have an aura. So infantry, bikes, and cavalry within 6 inches, and blood claws within 12 inches can reroll charge rolls because it unlocks the wolfen within you. So having one of these in your army really, if you're going full psycho, having a unit of these guys in the army is not a bad idea. Which apparently the imaginary army that I'm building today would definitely have at least one unit of wolfen to accompany the warlord. Then we have savage killers. They always count as being an assault doctrine, and always count as having charged for shock assault. So if you recall, all the stuff that I picked earlier essentially makes every unit a unit of wolfen.
Yeah.
When you look at these special abilities. So that's a lot of fun, really cool. I think they did really, I guess they used to be even crazier, but I don't know. I really didn't pay attention. But I think they're very evocative of the wolfen. And when you, like I said, I chose this because I wanted to show the attention to detail that went into some of the other abilities. So there's a language of design that they use to reflect certain things. So remember all of the other abilities that I picked for my character or to enhance the models around the character brought out the wolfen in those characters or in those models. And those same rules are represented in the actual wolfen data sheet. The same exact rules. So, there's definitely deliberate thought that goes into all this stuff. It's not just slapdash added to the page like, oh, this sounds cool. Or more importantly, it's not like, oh, this is a powerful ability that we can add. It has nothing to do with how powerful the ability it is. It has to do with how evocative it is of the army itself. So that's just all I wanted to bring up there. Also, the new codexes have these units that use the standard data sheets to make specific like named units.
Yeah.
In the Space Wolves, it's the Hounds of Morkai, who are like Psyker Hunters.
Okay.
The Death Watch have named kill teams in them.
Right.
So I would expect to see more named units going forward.
That makes me pretty excited and interested in what's going to happen with, Thousand Suns or, if there's a Black Legion supplement or really what happens to some of the other armies that are going to have supplements, what they'll look like.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. And you can come up with, this opens it up for us too, for us to come up with special named units of model. And though it kind of is reminiscent of Crusade. You're using all of these Crusade upgrades and stuff to make up these named units of models that are unique to your army, or at least different from the generic version, right?
Right.
But it does still open it up for us coming up with special rules for units that are a little different, but still unique to a certain story. Okay, so just a quick note on successor chapters. Space Wolves can take Space Wolf successors. They can take Space Wolf Warlord traits, sagas, special shoot war gear, relics, psychic powers, chapter approved rules, non-legendary Crusade relics, and non-unique data sheets. So you can't take like Canis Wolfborn in your Space Wolf successor chapter, but you can take any of the other special units in your successor chapter. I was looking at the successor. It looks like you can pick like the successor chapter tactics instead of the Space Wolf one to really make your successor chapter unique. The only difference is like there might be it might affect some of your secondary abilities. You won't have Savage Fury.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So it'd probably just be better if you're going to play Space Wolves, just play a successor chapter that's taken, all the same stuff as the Space Wolves.
I guess you would get Savage Fury. Oh wait, if every unit in your army has a Space Wolves keyword, then because the successor chapter swaps the Space Wolves keyword with the successor keyword.
Okay.
Then every unit that has combat doctrines and is in a Space Wolves detachment gets Savage Fury. So you would get Savage Fury.
Okay.
You would still get Savage Fury, I guess. But you'd also get your own. You'd get your specific successor chapter combat doctrine instead of the Space Wolf combat doctrine, which I believe is the +1 to hit, if I'm looking at it correctly. Sorry, guys. I'm scrolling in our own notes. I'm like, chapter text +1 to hit when charging charged or heroic intervention.
Yeah.
Plus, also everyone can perform heroic intervention. So you would lose that because you're picking something different. But maybe you're going for something that like plays off of different Space Wolf idiom, like you're going for more of a tie to the land type thing, like the Fenrysian, like attunement to the land. So maybe you'll pick something that has to do with that, or maybe you are a spacefaring chapter and you hunt people down. You're going for more the hunter aspect of things, so maybe you're going to take more Phobos units and you're going to do a lot more outflanking and infiltrating, and maybe you're going to pick a combat doctrine, maybe you're going to pick a chapter tactic that better fits that, but you're still a fierce Space Wolf successor chapter.
Yeah, you probably could name the Shadow Wolves or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like maybe you'll have a -1 to hit in shooting or something like that. You're more of a skulking in the shadows type.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're derived. Yeah, maybe you're derived from the same kind of blood that courses through the veins of the Iron Wolves, and you're more of a tank-based chapter. You're still fierce. You still like launch yourself out of your rhinos and your impulsors, and you murder people in close combat. But at the end of the day, you still like outflanking them with mobile combat and from tanks and from the backs of vehicles instead. Use your imagination. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day to be a Warhammer player because we have all these options. So Jason, when are you going to start your Space Wolf army of these 1,000 Sun Hunters? You're gonna make 1,000 Suns army and a Space Wolf army to fight them with, and you can just play with yourself in lockdown.
And phrasing. But yeah, the Hounds of Mordecai sounds fascinating. Actually, that would be that'd be a nice.
Clearly, you'd add that to your army, right?
Yeah,
because you're always fighting the 1,000 Suns. So
yeah, I think that'd be a really. I mean, as I think about this, I mean, I do play a lot of Kill Team.
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Is that how it begins? Yeah, man. It's just one unit.
Just a kill team.
Right.
Just one unit in your kill team. Yeah. I'm just gonna buy one unit of Wolfen. It's not gonna. Well, maybe I need a character to lead them. Maybe.
Yeah.
And then you need an impulsor to put him in, or a rhino to put him in. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's no problem.
The narrator over, like the narrator says, it was not fine.
Not at all.
It was not fine for Adam and Jason. They had new armies, even though they said they weren't going to make a new army in 2021. See, we need to celebrate 2021 with a new army. We survived 2020. We deserve a new army.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You don't sound too convinced, Jason.
I don't know, man. I've got this Death Guard army I'm working on, although I'm keeping that one small on purpose. And these Chaos Demons have kind of taken off on me, so I don't know.
Chaos Demons don't have orbital bombardment, though.
No, that's true. And next time I see Bill, I've got to drop one on him.
That's true. We need to get Bill to come to Texas with me somehow.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he would enjoy coming to Texas with the heat. You know, I'm sure he'd love that. Yeah,
that's true. So you'll have to come back up here when the COVID's over.
That's fine by me. Get me out of. Earliest would be summer, and I'm really tired of 100 and something plus days. It gets real tiring real quick.
Yeah, I'm sure it gets old real quick.
Hey Archons, tired of the boring predictability and efficiency of stuff that always works? You need the Slip Party Bus! Got an extra 473 points that you can't find a solid use for? You need the Slip Party Bus! You could spend 420 points on 3 reliable Lance Ravagers pumping out 9 Darkland shots per turn. That'll only give up 3 victory points, or you can drop 473 points on 2 Archons, 8 Slip, and a Raider for 11 victory points. You need the Slip Party Bus! The classic Slip Party Bus. Still awesome. Party Bus! Still hilarious. Party Bus! It's the Slip Party Bus! If you love the Slip Party Bus, you'll want to check out our other exciting products. We have the Rack Wiffle Ball Bat, the Trueborn, and the Blood Bride. Trueborn and Blood Bride models no longer available. The classic Slith Party Bus, still awesome, still hilarious. It's the Slith Party Bus!
Hey mofos, are you looking for more Warhammer 40k video content? Well, the Scarred Cast posts regular battle reports as well as tactics and strategy videos. Be sure to check out all the cool hobby content for the avid tabletop wargamer. That's Scarred Cast, Skared on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Well, our rolling right into the outro. Our next episode is going to be. I think I want to talk about these flashpoints that are showing up in White Dwarf.
Yeah.
Because the reason I'm doing that is because I think they're a good example of how folks can put their own narratives together on a week-to-week basis, whether with their close friends or at a game store. Not that you should be in your game store right now, but you might live in a different country where you're allowed to go to game stores. So next episode is going to be about flashpoints. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Just not killing your friends in the process. And the old people coming into the store because they don't know any better. We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge. And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
You can also contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor. Thanks again for listening.
This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com. The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.